Thank you, Ines. Hello, everybody. I just skipped my name. It has been mentioned already. Let me welcome you briefly. Thanks for joining today. I will try to start with a survey we did at the end of last year amongst our cloud customer base. Quite some interesting input that partly very well reflects the trend why customers choose going to the cloud and why customers choose an iPaaS option rather than a full SaaS service. I will then go into some portal news, what we implemented, also reflects to the survey we did. Might be interesting for you. Then I go into iPaaS, brief intro, what iPaaS is and what we are doing there, to then directly go into the main trends that we see in new customers and existing customers, and also elaborate on today's topic, why people are choosing to go to the cloud and to use an iPaaS kind of service. And then finally, to conclude that, I'll go a little bit deeper into the topic of API and real-time processes, how we handle that, what we can do there. And I'll close down with a brief look at cloud service, SEEBURGER cloud service based on AWS. So this is today's agenda. Let me start with some survey results. In December, we did launch this survey called the Kano survey. Kano is a Japanese economist with the name Kano. And he found a way to ask questions in a structured way to find out how important specific product or service features are for the customers by simply asking two questions. So what does it mean to you if this feature is there, and what does it mean to you if this feature is not there? And with this two questions to every feature, there he made a methodology how you can determine the importance of a feature and a segmentation of a feature. And this is basically what we did with 15 basic features of our iPaaS and full managed service features. And we found some real interesting answers, which are also of importance why people choose an iPaaS service. So let me start at the bottom left part of the quadrant. These are features with a low dissatisfaction and low efficient coefficient for satisfaction. So these are features that are considered as normal, right? Or as not so important. Funnily, the operation in public clouds falls into this segment. This may have to do that in December, mainly German customers answered to that survey. I know that in an international field, this is looking quite different. And this is why we continue to look at public clouds for delivering the service. The right-hand bottom part, these are so-called basic features. This is features which must be there. If these features are not there, you're not going to use that service, because without that, the service has no value. And if you go counter the clock to the performance features, right-hand upper side, these are important features that are needed for performance, for obviously the track and trace, and the application integration features do fall into that. And the most important feature is the left-hand upper side enthusiasm features, where we find quite a lot of interesting answers. So these are the features where customers said it is important that they are there, and if they're not there, we don't look at that service. So important ones. So, and the most important piece for today's webcast is the prioritization of change requests. The customer said they want to have a way, if they put a change to our service desk, that they can tell them, this is urgent, please do it now and do it quickly. This is one of the main drivers why our cloud customers opt for iPaaS, because then they have that kind of changes, or most of these kind of changes, in their hands, and they can do it on their own, and they can influence the realization time of a change request themselves. So this is directly linked to the iPaaS piece. So many of our full managed service customers also look at iPaaS, and if you go deeper into that, we find the reasons why those customers look at that, and I will go into that later. And then we found this customer portal piece, where customers can interact with us, so that, for example, customers can add message tracking, business tracking users, or change contact names, or have access to SLA reports or KPIs. Very important to customers that they get that information at their hands without waiting for it and asking somebody and some things. Finally, very important also is the API support for all of our customers, and mainly the synchronous, so the time critical 1 second or less SLA APIs seem to be of very high relevance for our cloud customers. Also, this has to do with a strong argument for choosing an iPaaS options, but I will try to emphasize on that one. If you look at that, there is quite a lot of ratings that you can get out of this Kano method. You can see that the API and the iPaaS piece, together with the change request piece, are of the most relevance for our cloud customer base. And this also explains the trend why people go into this iPaaS piece, and I will make that a little bit more transparent to you today. What did we learn out of this survey? It helps us to see which features and which functions are of relevance for our cloud customers, and it helps us to recognize trends on it. We can easily implement quick wins. So, for example, this change request piece, we have that in place. We just need to make it available for more customers who need it. And we find it's a very, very valuable piece for us to develop our services for you as a customer. So this is the reason why we'll repeat that survey annually from now on. We plan this for second half of September this year. And if you're a cloud customer, make sure that you opt in for cloud newsletters so that you get the invitation. And the more we get from your opinion, the more we can react on it. So this is an easy thing. So you would be very welcome, if you're a cloud customer, to take part in that survey, so that we can really make things happen that you need. We will, of course, also publish the date of the survey and the link to it in our cloud customer portal. This is what I'm going to do. So all our cloud customers and all the old cloud customers as well, not only the new ones, will within the next 2 or 3 weeks receive a user for our cloud portal. When you log on to that portal, an on-premise customer does already know because all the licenses can be derived from there. But a cloud customer will then see all the services that is company booked with all that services that are visible in that front page. You can directly access the online help. By the way, since like noon today, the online help for the iPaaS service is available. You will find a lot of valuable information there. Then there are some news, cloud relevant news like security pieces, etc. Here we only show blogs, but this will disappear and will be replaced with relevant information for cloud customers. On top of that, as already mentioned, you will have access to our SLA reports, and you can do some self-services for your users. So you can add new users, you can change roles, you can replace users, for example, data protection officer and all the pieces, and you can also add users to the business tracking or message tracking app, so that you don't have to contact us when you want us to exchange a user. And midterm, it is planned that this portal will also be your single point of contact to us and gives you access to the service desk, so we can see the status of your ticket or open requests directly in there. That being said, let me come to the online help and the documentation piece. Existing iPaaS customers, as well as not yet iPaaS customers, can directly go to the help pages or the connect the cloud. Both things are important. In the help cloud SEEBURGER.com, you will find the iPaaS help with quite of useful information, technical information, and with the connect the cloud, you get all the data sheets to connect to our cloud certificates, etc. So this is something we make in terms of transparency for the customer, because this is also something we hear relatively often. If customers don't have all the information at their hands, the cloud service seems to be intransparent, which is not good. Okay, let me come into our today's topic. First of all, I want to remind you a little bit of what we do when we talk iPaaS. As all our integration services, our iPaaS service is delivered not as a hosting model or not as a real software as a service model. So what we do is we deliver the integration platform to you. We operate that platform and offer necessary functionality around that, like the communication service, like disaster recovery options, etc. We do, of course, take care of all the operation and all the security pieces. So we will take care if a technical underlying infrastructure piece doesn't work as it should. We will do all that security stuff, including our internal cloud security team, including our certifications that we do, including external consulting firms that do vulnerability and pen testing, so that we are sure that the platform is secure. And of course, the 24/7 support is always an integral part of our iPaaS service. And of course, you can book consulting services, project support during the entire lifetime of that service. So we really want to make the difference towards we just host it in the cloud and provide you a software as a service, and then we leave you alone. So summarizing that, an iPaaS service at SEEBURGER means that we run a BIS for you in the cloud. We do all the monitoring on that. We do the release management on that, so we keep the entire platform up to date with monthly security updates, with solution updates, and all that stuff behind it. We do provide the complete communication infrastructure, the underlying databases, and of course the operating system, including the complete virtualization layer, and of course the data center. And you can work on that platform nearly as if it would be in your own premises. The only difference is that you don't need to take care about the operation and that the BIS is healthy. So this is a quick intro to the iPaaS service, and this now is the main trends and reasons for iPaaS slide. So when we look at our today's customers that come into the cloud or who move from a full service operation towards iPaaS, most of these trends are the main triggers. Basically, all new cloud customers and many of the existing ones today do not only look for EDI B2B, but they have quite a lot more of integration requirements. So that means they have cloud applications like Salesforce.com or web shops or whatever. They want to connect with their ERP. Then partly we do have ERP migrations into the cloud where parts are moved into the cloud. We have external software as a service applications. We have external logistics providers who all provide APIs, and all that needs to be integrated somehow. Many of our customers nowadays want to really have that on one platform because the processes, the process chains are linked together, and it's no longer feasible to separate B2B EDI from enterprise service bus and an A2A or API integration piece. So this is mainly focused on one platform. And if you do that, of course, it is getting more complex. You need to look at more details if you do that, and this increases the workload you need to invest to keep that platform running. Of course, BIS will fulfill all the technical requirements, and therefore we can also do it in the cloud. We do have some restrictions for security reasons in the cloud, but that mainly only means that we do it in a different way rather than we are not allowing it. In some scenarios, we do have hybrid setups, either with an on-premises BIS and the cloud BIS. So to do the on-prem integrations and data exchanges with an on-prem system, and then linking that to the cloud to do all external communication over the cloud. Or we have some situation where we have API gateways in various locations, like in Azure, like in AWS, and run the BIS in our cloud, so that we just have API gateways at different locations. So the complex integration scenarios, the variety of data flows make setups more complex. And these more complex scenarios result in a more complex operation. That is the main iPaaS trigger. And then when we look at volumes, and I will come back to that later when I talk about API processes, when we look at transaction volumes, typically, if we do all the integrations in A2A and API pieces, then the transaction volumes are much higher than the pure EDI B2B volumes. That means we have to run larger systems in active mode, larger databases, and again, this imposes cost. This imposes not only license cost to Oracle, but workforce cost. This is a cloud trigger. And then here comes the main trigger for iPaaS rather than cloud. The technical alignment, when you do this A2A and API kind of integration, is with much more interfaces. So if you had like 2 or 3 people to talk to, if we set up a new EDI part, if we set up a very simple web shop process from the beginning to the end, you involve basically most of your internal departments. That means the internal alignment, the internal project is much bigger. And if you then have to run that with an external provider in the cloud, this increases cost significantly. And therefore, most of those customers who have that kind of integrations opt for iPaaS, as they say, we want to have the flexibility to do all that with our internal resources, but we don't want to take care about operating system security updates and firewall security updates and making this running. So this is something that we see basically in every kind of this hybrid integration platform deals in the cloud. They go for iPaaS so that they can work on the system without having an additional alignment interface with SEEBURGER Consulting. And then the API piece adds complexity, adds security pieces to it. APIs are coming more and more in B2B-like processes. So replacing a simple ASN, EDI, B2B ASN by an API interface, this is still not real time, but it's much easier to handle in terms of delivery receipts, etc. And a lot of real-time APIs, which also needs some basic thoughts on system setups and on separation of real-time process and non-real-time processes. So again, this is a very, very good reason for choosing an iPaaS option. You could do that in the cloud, but together with the alignment between the different process owners, it is getting fuzzy if you have to explain all of that to an external provider. And then IT security, you may have heard of it, or I'm relatively sure that you do. The IT security piece is the mega trend. Customers who have their own integration teams trying to use that integration platform for cloud to cloud, cloud to on-premise connectivity, and on-prem to on-prem connectivity, they have to open up their integration platform to the internet. And we know that internet is home of the evil in terms of security. So that means you have to run a very, very high effort to make that piece really safe and secure. That means most of our cloud customers, no, this is not right. All of our new cloud customers today will do a kind of security assessment or audit with us to internally prove that the security measures SEEBURGER takes are right. We do have an IT security team that we most of them are newly hired. Because we enlarged the team significantly. We have our standard IT security that we do since years. We do have our risk management and compliance teams, and we do have these audits annually from ISO 27001, from ISAE, and of course TSAX for the automotive industry. This is quite an effort that we take here, which we prove in every audit that we do. So, it is nearly not possible or much too expensive to do that for an on-premises kind of base. So, given all that things together, so security, the need for hands-on on the process, as you have many internal interfaces and many different process owners, are the main drivers for doing an iPaaS piece. Two more trends go into the same direction. So e-invoicing in various countries is getting more and more a must-have. And if you can simply add that to an existing integration platform, it is easy due to the fact that such invoicing is undergoing a very frequent change procedures in every country. So the financial authorities of every country do updates on their procedures quite frequently, so at least yearly. We do offer that as a full featured service only from the cloud. Again, this is a move to cloud piece, but an important add-on also for our iPaaS customers. And of course, the trend to public clouds is more and more. So many companies opt to move their entire IT to public clouds. It is relatively easy to run an SAP or whatever in the public cloud. But when it comes to an integration platform with many interfaces and traffic, it needs quite some special knowledge. And this is why we are focusing on also offering that iPaaS or full service from public clouds. And I will go a little bit into that at the end of this presentation. So this is a good summary on why our customers choose for iPaaS. And I want to go into more detail on that API piece, just to make it clear why it is that that kind of complex in terms of interfaces. You all know this process. This is a simple web shop integration kind of process. So when you do a shopping cart process, you typically have multiple systems and partners included. So you do have obviously a web shop where you have all the catalog information, shopping cart information, user info, product pictures and info. But the price information usually and availability is only available in an ERP system. When it comes to availability and delivery information, which is usually in a web shop, you need to look into your warehouse. You need to look with a logistic service provider. So this is the reason why you have multiple kind of technical interfaces to connect to. This is one piece of the complexity part, and if you look at that kind of process in a different way. So you have the shopping cart in the beginning, you do the checkout, the purchase order is created within the ERP system, also delivery node for the warehouse. The warehouse does the compilation of the goods, the package, and creates a shipment notice, sends that one to the DHL, UPS, FedEx, whomever. Those take the pickup, the good pickup, they deliver the goods, they do a very frequent status update so that the person in front of the web shop knows where that parcel is. And finally, if the LSP that delivered the package, that information goes back to the ERP system where the invoice then is created. There are multiple kind of process owners in there in different departments of the company. Obviously, a simple shopping cart checkout process creates up to 20 processes on average, where we only in older times had like 4 EDI messages: the PO, the delivery note, the shipment note, and the invoice later. So that's the basic kind of messages in earlier days. And obviously these number of interfaces, product owners of ERP, warehouse, logistics service, and so on, web shop, maybe different providers, and the technical interfaces in between, like real time, like file based, like whatever happens on that side. This is pretty complex and takes a lot of alignment effort, and therefore most customers doing that want to do that on their own without having one more party on the scene where they have to explain what has to be done. So this said towards API, obviously we try to provide lots of connectors for the different integration scenarios to make it easier. So that only addresses the technical piece. So the technical integration is relatively easy so that our customers can configure it on their own. However, the alignment piece stays real and stays there. Let me conclude with the API services real-time processing. So like 30 odd years, SEEBURGER did look at EDI mainly, or MFT processes and invoicing. So these kind of processes obviously can have rather high volumes. They're typically batch driven, and if an EDI document is delivered within 2 or 1 minute or 3 minutes, that usually doesn't make a big difference. However, now if we look at the real-time part, the synchronous API piece, we do have a person sitting in front of a web shop. Remember that picture, and you all know if you sit in front of an Amazon piece, you're used to clicking on an item to see the price and to see the availability and shipment time within the first second. And this is where we have a real-time requirement for integration. That can be to internal systems, so application integration, that can be to cloud-based applications via an API. So these have typically an SLA expectation of a second or less. You click on something, you put it into a workflow, you see a send clock for a second, and then the information has to be there. Nobody wants to wait longer in that. We do have the technology in BIS for that. Beside the typical EDI things where we work with queues in an API piece, we can integrate between systems that have their API. So if you have a web shop that has an API that connects to S/4HANA, for example, we can integrate that directly, or we can do the API integration piece where we do the external API and integrate to an internal legacy backend without APIs via our typical integration functionality. Typically in an API field, we do that in memory without using message queues to make it quick. Still, APIs should go through a gateway that you do not open API holes in your firewall for every application. And that setup is there. As said, we use in memory for it. So API is coming together with real-time requirements. It comes together with security requirements. So APIs don't have to be limited for authorized users. And that's an API management piece. So the gateway is being used so that we don't have too many holes in the firewall. And then we have to really look at what kind of traffic we have on a system and how we treat it. You know, when we have an EDI system that's having a lot of EDI messages, we typically work with message queues. And with every queue, it is the same. If you have like 10 pieces in the queue, they're processed in a serial way. So if you have 10 messages in a queue and you have a real-time messages number 11 in that queue, and one of the mappings goes longer, that API has to wait. This is something that doesn't work. And therefore, with the in-memory computing, we separate that processing from the queues to make it really safe, that we can keep that that SLA of a second or less. We typically do that real-time SLA-based integrations on a separate system to make sure that we meet the processing times needed. We could do it on the same system, but that is or can be tricky. So really, again, to operate such and to configure such needs quite a deep look and a deep process understanding, which again makes operation not easier in that. And again, this is one of the main reasons customers rather give that operation to us, but do the implementation on their own. So this is one of the main iPaaS triggers. This said, one final slide. As announced already, the trend to public clouds is there. It will not disappear. It will not go away. Therefore, we work with a high pressure on delivering the SEEBURGER cloud service, whether it's a full service or an iPaaS from AWS. As the first step, we will do other like Azure as a second step. What we are going to do certainly is that we will deliver such a service as a SEEBURGER cloud services. So we are not going to have a finger pointing service where if something goes wrong, AWS points to us and we point to AWS and you're in the middle. So no, we want to take that as we do with our cloud services as a complete service to make sure that we are the single point of contact for our customers. So we'll bring that out within this year. We are working on that. We are ramping that up in the second half of this year, and we'll most probably before Christmas bring that to public availability. That being said, I have this one. Are there any questions?
First of all, many